When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
Hey, bad news. What's wrong? It's really like trouble. A lot of these local guys came in all duded up. Some made their own armor.
Hi, you must be Dr. McMichaels.
No, I'm Dr. McMichaels.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
We have got to move.
Now, just hold it. I can handle this. I'm prepared for this kind of thing. Now, you guys just relax, and I'll go find your friend.
Hey, buddy. Just give you a heads up.
Wait a minute. You're off dairy?
And gluten-free?
Do you even know what gluten-free is?
Of course.
How does an actor go from surviving a zombie apocalypse in one of the most iconic horror films ever made to becoming the father figure for an entire generation of kids who grew up watching Nickelodeon? And what secret from his past almost prevented him from ever stepping in front of a camera? Ken Foree, the voice you can't forget, the face that defined survival horror, the man who made you believe zombies were real and then made you laugh during Saturday morning cartoons. But here's what nobody talks about. Before Ken Foree became a Hollywood legend, he was working in a restaurant in Greenwich Village, barely scraping by, wondering if acting was just a pipe dream. And there's one name from his family tree that connects him to show business in a way that'll blow your mind. Born Kentotis Alvin Foree on February 29, 1948, in Indianapolis, Indiana, Ken entered the world on a day that only exists every 4 years. Leap Day, a rare birthday for a rare talent. Ken grew up as the oldest of 4 boys in a family that had zero connection to entertainment. His family was into politics, journalism, psychology, teaching, serious professions for serious people. Nobody in his immediate family ever dreamed of Hollywood.
My family was really into political endeavors, journalism, psychology, teaching, except I had an uncle, and his name was Shank.
But there was one exception, one person who had entertainment in their blood. His name was Shank.
Shank Middlebrooks. James Middlebrooks called him Shank Middlebrooks. And he died before I was born. But apparently Shank had a tent show that he traveled throughout the Midwest and South.
Shank Middlebrook, James Middlebrook, if you want to get technical, was Ken's uncle. He died before Ken was ever born, but his legend lived on. Shank had a tent show, not just one tent, 3 tents. He traveled throughout the Midwest and the South, putting on performances, entertaining crowds, living the kind of life that most people in Ken's family thought was reckless. But Shank was successful. He made it work. And somewhere in Ken's DNA, that same spark was waiting to ignite. Ken spent his first 15 years in Indianapolis before moving to Colorado. Then he headed to Chicago to attend Loyola University. After that, it was on to New York City, where he studied acting along Michael Schulman's performing gallery. But studying acting and making a living from it are 2 very different things. Ken worked as an assistant manager at a restaurant in Greenwich Village just to keep the lights on. He'd work the lunch rush, serve tables, deal with difficult customers, and then rush to auditions or theater rehearsals at night. It was exhausting, it was humbling, and it was necessary. Then in 1976, Ken got his first role in the Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings, a movie about a barnstorming black baseball team in the 1930s. It wasn't a huge part, but it was a start.
I'm always glad to help when I can.
Yeah, we seen you going through a little trouble, so here's a little something to help cover your expenses.
And then came 1978, the year everything changed. George A. Romero was casting for his follow-up to The Night of the Living Dead. The film was called Dawn of the Dead, and it would take place in a shopping mall overrun by zombies. Ken auditioned for the role of Peter Washington, a SWAT team officer who becomes one of the few survivors barricaded inside the mall.
And we're out doing traffic reports. Wake up, sucker. We're thieves and we're bad guys. That's exactly what we are.
Ken got the part, and when Dawn of the Dead hit theaters, it became an instant cult classic. Critics praised its social commentary, horror fans obsessed over the gore, and Ken Foree became the face of zombie survival. His most famous line, "When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth."
When there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
That line became iconic, so iconic that when Zack Snyder remade the Dawn of the Dead movie in 2004, Ken appeared in a cameo as a televangelist, and he quoted the exact same line. A full circle moment that horror fans would absolutely wow for. But Dawn of the Dead wasn't just a career moment, it was a cultural phenomenon. The film grossed millions worldwide. It influenced every zombie movie that came after that, and Ken Foree became a legend. In 1981, Ken reunited with George Romero for Night Riders, a bizarre but fascinating film about a traveling Renaissance fair troupe that joust on motorcycles. It wasn't a horror movie, it wasn't a blockbuster, but it showed Ken's range. Then, in 1986, Ken worked with another horror legend, Stuart Gordon, in From Beyond, a wild adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft story. Ken played Buford Bubba Brownlee, an affable cop, trying to make sense of interdimensional creatures and body horror. The movie was gory.
You messing with that damn machine again, man?
It was weird, and Ken held his own. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Ken became a staple of genre films. He appeared in Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 in 1990 as Benny, a survivalist who battles chainsaw-wielding maniacs.
Let's get out of here.
He played hard-nosed cops in The Dentist, Sleep Stalker, and Terror Squad. He showed up in TV shows like The X-Files, Babylon 5, The A-Team, Hill Street Blues, Cheers, and Dallas. Ken Foree was everywhere, but most people still only knew him as the guy from Dawn of the Dead. Then, in 1996, something unexpected happened. Nickelodeon called. They were casting a new sitcom about two best friends, Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell, and they needed someone to play Kenan's dad, someone warm, someone funny, someone who could anchor a family sitcom without losing the edge that made him interesting.
That's why this family is moving to Palmas, Montana!
Ken walked into that audition room at Universal Studios, the Black Tower as he calls it, and auditioned in front of about 30 people, producers, executives, network suits, all staring at him, judging whether this horror icon could play a sitcom dad. He shook hands with all 30 of them, and a few days later, he got the call. He was Roger Rockmore. Kenan and Kel ran from 1996 to 2000, 4 seasons of pure chaos, physical comedy, and heart. Ken played the father who loved his family, tried to keep Kel from destroying his house, and took a pie in the face more times than he could count.
Oh, Sam, go!
Don't ever hit me with a tomato again, okay?
And here's the wild part. An entire generation grew up watching Ken on Kenan and Kel without knowing he was a horror legend. They had no idea Roger Rockmore was Peter Washington. They didn't connect the dots.
And something on television or one of the other films I've done, and they say, oh, that's Ken Foree. He was in Kenan and Kel. He's Kenan's dad.
Ken says people in their mid-30s now, people who watch Kenan and Kel as kids, see him at conventions, and their minds explode when they realize he's the same guy who fought zombies in Dawn of the Dead. But Ken doesn't just represent two different genres. He represents something deeper. He represents a positive black father on television during a time when that representation was rare. He was strong without being threatening. He was funny without being a stereotype. He was present. After Kenan and Kel ended in 2000, Ken went back to what he did best, genre films and horror. In 2005, he played Charlie Altamont in Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects, a role that let him flex his dramatic muscles as a pimp with swagger and menace.
Are you saying that I would cut off a chicken's head, put my...
He starred opposite Sid Haig and Bill Moseley, two other horror icons, and the chemistry was electric. Then, in 2007, Rob Zombie brought Ken back for the remake of Halloween. Ken played Big Joe Grizzly, a truck driver who doesn't take kindly to anyone messing with him. It was a small role, but Ken made it memorable.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly.
In 2012, Ken appeared in Rob Zombie's The Lords of Salem, playing Herman Jackson in yet another collaboration with a director who clearly understood Ken's talent. But Ken's influence goes beyond just the films he's in. The horror comedy Shaun of the Dead, one of the most beloved zombie parodies ever made, named the electronics store where the main character works, Foree Electronics, as a tribute to Ken. It's a subtle nod that hardcore horror fans immediately recognize. Ken even runs his own horror festival called Foree Fest in London, bringing together fans and fellow horror actors for weekend celebrations of the genre that made him famous. But there's something about Ken that goes beyond his work on screen. It's his presence, that voice.
I remember we was passing by a few minutes ago, and Ben was talking to Winter over there, and he said, Ken was at my first show. He's absolutely right.
Ken stands 6 feet 5 inches tall. His voice is deep, commanding, and unmistakable. When he speaks, people listen. It's the kind of voice that can sell you orange soda one minute and terrify you with tales of the undead the next. And there's a story Ken tells about that voice, a story involving Jeffrey Holder, the actor famous for those 7-Up commercials.
Jeffrey Holder was a dancer. You would recognize him, and maybe your fans might recognize him, some of the older ones anyway. He did the Cola Nut commercial. You want 7-Up, then you have to have Cola Nuts.
Ken and his wife were sitting in the lobby of the Waldorf Astoria years ago. When Jeffrey Holder walked in, the lobby was empty except for them. Holder sat down near them, and when he spoke, Ken says the whole room vibrated. That deep, resonant voice filled the space like thunder. Ken's wife turned to him and said, "Your voice is better." And that's the thing about Ken Foree. He's got the voice. He's got the presence. He's got the range to go from horror to comedy without missing a beat. He's got the respect of directors like George Romero, Stuart Gordon, and Rob Zombie. And he's got the love of fans who followed him for decades. But what about Ken's personal life? Ken is married to Valerie Cruz, and together they have a son named Kenan Rockmore. Yes, named after his Kenan and Kel character. Ken keeps his personal life private. No social media, no public drama, just a quiet life with his family in Los Angeles. He's also a car enthusiast. He owns a blue Cadillac that he bought after using one of the Devil's Rejects. It's the same model, the same color. He loved it so much on set that he had to have one for himself. Ken's hobbies include surfing, boxing, weightlifting, and watching basketball. He's a die-hard Indiana Hoosiers fan. He's also passionate about history and traveling, interests that keep him grounded outside of Hollywood's chaos. As of 2025, Ken Foree is 77 years old. He's been acting for over 50 years, and he's still working. He recently wrote a zombie comic book series, stepping into the role of creator and writer to tell new stories in the genre that made him famous. His estimated net worth is around $15 million, earned through decades of consistent work in film, television, and convention appearances. But here's what makes Ken Foree truly special. He's never forgotten where he came from. He remembers being that kid in Indianapolis with a family that didn't understand show business. He remembers his uncle Shank, who traveled the Midwest with tent shows and proved that a black entertainer could make it on his own terms. He remembers working in that restaurant in Greenwich Village, wondering if he'd ever get a shot. And when he finally got that shot with Dawn of the Dead, he didn't waste it. He became an icon, not because he chased fame, but because he was committed fully to every role he played. When horror fans met Ken at conventions, they don't want just a photo or an autograph. They want to hear that voice. They want to shake the hand of the man who taught them what it means to survive. They want to tell him what Dawn of the Dead meant to them, how it sparked their love for horror, how it changed the way they see the genre. And when kids who grew up on Kenan and Kel meet Ken, they light up because Roger Rockmore was their dad too. He was the father figure who showed them what it looked like to be present, to be loving, to take a pie in the face and laugh it off. Ken Foree has lived 2 careers in one lifetime. He's a horror legend who became a sitcom dad. He's the guy who survived zombies and raised Kenan Thompson on screen. He's the actor who never let himself be boxed into one genre, one role, one version of success. He's proof that you can reinvent yourself, that you can be scary and funny, that you can honor your past while building your future. And at 77 years old, Ken Foree isn't slowing down. He's still making appearances, still telling stories, still reminding everyone that when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth, and Ken Foree will be there to stop them. So the next time you watch Dawn of the Dead and feel the primal fear, remember the man behind it. The next time you catch a Kenan and Kel rerun and laugh at Roger Rockmore's exasperation, remember the actor who made it real. Ken Foree is a legend who never stopped being human, a survivor who never forgot where he came from, an actor who never stopped working. From Indianapolis to Greenwich Village, from zombies to orange soda, from Shank Middlebrook's nephew to Hollywood icon. That's Ken Foree and his story.